Hi, good morning. I'm stuck in a ridiculous traffic jam. It's almost been an hour and I've moved like a mile and a half. And I'm going to be very late to the place that I am going to. But this happens sometimes. So I'm lost in my thoughts. Because what else are you going to do? In the car, I'm thinking, because I had this strange dream. I had many dreams. I've been having a lot of dreams every time I sleep. Every polyphasic sleep nap I managed to get. And the dream showed these different aisles. It was like, if you've ever seen l'Arc de Triomphe in Paris, there's all these roads branching out like sunbursts. They don't go perpendicular. You've got roads branching off of this central place, this nucleus, at different angles. My dream saw myself in some type of dollar store or pharmacy or something, like a Rite Aid or a Walgreens, and I was in the middle and there was aisles branching off all around me, and everyone was a different color. There was one that was like pink and red, there was one that was like red and green, and there was one that was orange. These were the holidays, and the dream was about capitalism milking the people through the incentivization of the commercialized American holiday, and how there's always something. Like, Christmas is such a big deal. There's really so many invisible stipulations around how we work and live and spend our money, and I have a particularly low threshold for tolerating marketing. Like, if I'm watching a video or something on YouTube or anywhere else, and like an ad pops up, it drives me to like an infuriated level of heightened emotion where I get so frustrated, not only because it's an interruption and it's these incessant interruptions, but because of how intensely I feel like every time something pops up, we're just being targeted, reminding us why we need certain things. And just the verbiage. There's this great quote, the limit of your language is the limit of your world. I saw Ben Meir repost that. It's by a Ludwig Wettigig or something. I forget who says that quote, but this goes back to another time I was in the car talking about golden leaf tea, and it's like, make every hour golden hour. You know, the marketing that they use is all about emotions. You know, you've got people all across corporate America sitting in conference rooms talking about how we're going to take advantage of the vulnerable psyche of the human mind that likes to take comfort in concepts such as togetherness, free things, family, community, the act of giving. There's another quote that I like. I don't know if you could consider it a quote. It's in the meme gallery on the blog. It's like, man will do anything if you can convince them that it is moral. And then the second step says, you can convince man that anything is moral. It's like we're constantly being brainwashed by these bombarding images and flashing sequences of peppy jingles, these earworms. Man, there was a couple months where I couldn't stop singing that stupid Ozempic thing. I'd be like cleaning and it was like, oh, Ozempic. I was like grooving to it. I was like, shut up. This is not a song. And I don't like it. But it's a brainwashing through this sequencing of things arising around us, where there's a collective understanding that this is the mode we're switching into. You know, you get a bunch of people around and the topic is like, well, have you started your Christmas shopping? And it's not this materialistic thing. It's like the generosity of the act of thinking about and purchasing things for others, the people in our lives that we care for, and the act of Six of Pentacles, you know, giving, exchanging. But the holidays can be so, I mean, we know this, they're so triggering for so many people. And there's not a whole lot of acknowledgement around how much childhood trauma can take place due to holidays, and the differences in socioeconomic backgrounds and what that means for children in school or children amongst their peers and consumption. I was with a family of Nigerian people for work reasons recently, and there was children, and the adults of this family could hardly speak English, but their children are in Pittsburgh public schools alongside English-speaking children every day, so they're very fluent. And I was conducting the nature of my work in the home of this family, using this 10-year-old girl as like my translator, because I was like, how are we feeling? And everything it was very clear that my words were not being understood, even the most basic words, like, is that a yes? Is that a no? We were struggling to communicate. This little girl, she was talking about money and price tags and wanting things and getting new things and the joy of wish fulfillment for a child. It really disturbs me how quickly capitalist consumerism, American culture, this happens. I mentioned this long ago around how dismayed I am that, like, you see Starbucks and McDonald's, like, the American chains and monopolies are just like speckling the landscapes of old worlds where we have no business, like just franchises taking over to be honest with you, I don't know the definitions. I know there's differences between like enterprise, franchise. I don't know any of that, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm just talking about it, but I see it being like America's the culprit of starting this, where other countries are buying into it. So we're expanding into the sleek minimalist world that's packaged by these companies, and everything's very available and immediate. And I love seeing what people do during traffic jams. There's people just like banging on their steering wheels. This one's ridiculous. There's no reason for this. This is ridiculous. When I get up in the morning, I have two choices. I can look out the window and I can see what the traffic looks like from multiple angles, because I have a nice clear sight line all the way across to where my commute is. And I was up early and I was looking out and I was like, this is not good. And then when it's not good on the far route, the close route gets clogged up because everybody's taking an alternate route. So both my options are foiled. And I drank all my morning coffee in about 10 minutes. And now I have to pee really badly, and I know for a fact I don't have the ability to be anywhere sooner than 45 minutes from now or something, but I digress. Children, right? And also just like Pavlov, conditioning, being exposed to things as we age. The joy of, like, for me, right, I think about manifestation and I think about vision boarding and I think about what I like to look at and what I covet and what gives me inspiration and what makes me feel like I can envision my world 6 months from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, envisioned by elements of, what's it going to look like? What's it going to smell like? What's it going to feel like? What will I be wearing? Who will be next to me? All of that has been a very organic process for me throughout my life because I'm like a master manifester. And when I was a child, I did it through my clothes and like my objects I really liked. I've mentioned it before. It haunts my mind because I'm like, oh, what a fond thing that I'll never see again. It was a journal. And it had this cover that was like faux fur, but it was like hot, hot, hot pink. And if I brushed the fur one way or the other, it was like a little bit darker pink, a little bit lighter. And I just remember like I would be sitting in my room, like I often elected to be sitting in my room alone doing things. I'd like brush all the fur down with my actual hairbrush so that it was the hotter of the two pinks. Let's go for the hottest pink we can. So it's like kids are all fresh and new in the world. I mean, of course, there's a lot of things like real world creeps in. Like you'll meet kids these days and they have this ridiculous level of maturity about things. They're very matter of fact. I was like that as a kid. I think it's so much more common now. Like the world, regardless of parenting styles or exact location of where, I mean, within reason, maybe like the difference between first and third world values and conditioning, but it doesn't really matter where a kid is or how they're raised. It just is the situation that the world is fast and the world is complicated and they're very spongy. And so they start to become adept at navigating that and integrating that. And that's the level they come in at, right? I came in right before it upticked. So there's a part of my development foundationally, right? We got our first Macintosh computer in probably 1998. I had 4 years of nothingness before all that. And my hippie parents, my mother being like, we are not going to be having cell phones in this house. No radiation. You know, and I didn't get one until I was in 8th grade. And my other friends had them. Just like this curve, right? Kids come in these days and it's like iPad here, flat screen there, hologram in the sky, drones overhead. Like there's no curve. They come in, they meet the level of intensity where it's at, and they don't question it. We're all still shell shocked from the past 20 years being like, how the F did we get here? And we can kind of look at and hold the entire progression of that and be like, huh, yeah, I mean, my belief is that it's been very drip fed, and like the progression of different things being released into the world has been trying, it's like an invisible needle kind of swifting. I'm also seeing a warp and a weft. Technology and the human ability to, again, going back to that, and a warp and a weft is something with weaving on a loom, right? Invisible needle kind of like knitting together both the technological advancement and its impact on society as screened and monitored by algorithmic quantum intelligence, and then like how money moves within that impact, and then what the next step of release is as a result of that. When I look at the past 20 years and things like that, it's like there's a clear pulse and an approach to how that's been done. Now that's my opinion, but I dig pretty deep into watching layers. I always talk about pastry dough or phyllo dough, things flaking off. Sorry, I'm so nosy. I'm like, this guy's filming a video of the side of the road. I'm like, what do you see over there? What is it? You got a leprechaun? Oh gosh, this is ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous traffic jam I've been in 2 weeks. By gum. Ridiculous. Okay. One of my very first boyfriends gave me a female mobile urination, like a urinal funnel for the road, and I never used it, but I was like, you know me too well, and it's gone, and I should have kept it. Would have come in handy at a time like this. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important we get all swept up in how things are normalized. We are creatures that can be continually ushered into smaller and smaller spaces. I mean, think about the frog in the boiling pot of water. All of a sudden, it's not a nice warm bath. It's searing the surface of our skin. We got boils. We're not comfy. This is what has been happening with, the Skylink, the Earthlink. I don't know what that means. No, Skylink. Earthlink, Neuralink. Whatever, all these frequencies though, increasing. That has a very real effect on the electromagnetic frequency of one human aura. Everybody, it's like, I see a funny video. There's this woman, God knows why she does this. It's just internet comedy and this internet culture of ridiculousness. But she like puts on color coordinated outfits that resemble objects that are next to like a hydraulic pressure system, and like there's two side-by-side I'll just put it on the screen so you can see. It's like these invisible things are intensifying at this gradual rate, so that yeah, sure, we're seeing more health problems, mental health problems and physical health issues in the world increasing, but it is gradual. And it's like, okay, the correlation, you've got scientists who have been talking about, like, if you put a cell phone down on a table and you drop a bunch of ants into a closed environment, they will keep their distance from it. Ants have a pheromonal trace within their colonies where there's basically the blind leading the blind in their pheromonal track. Because of the way that ants build ant hills, they need the path of the other ants to illuminate the scent trail so that they can continue bringing the proper crumbs to the proper pile, so that they're all moving in the same direction. So there's this unspoken, obviously, because they're ants, the instinctual pattern of the ant, and you can see this in mice too, interacting with devices that are connected to the internet, or streaming data plans. I don't even know what to call it. The frequency. They'll steer clear of it too. Yet we have it in our pockets. We have it, in my pocket. It's right next to my uterus. It's warmly sitting next to the oven where all of my vital organs live, you know, or it's next to my face. I'm talking on the phone. And just so we can make your life easier and so that you are safer, we're going to create further wireless devices that just nestle right inside your skull through your ear cavities. Like, I said this when I got AirPods. I've officially, that's not true. I was going to say I've officially sort of stopped using them. There's no reason to say officially in a sentence like that, because sometimes I still do, because they are convenient. But when I got them, I tried them on, and I said to somebody, I was like, I'm not sure these are for me. They hurt my head. They create this very bizarre pressure. The noise canceling makes me feel weird in my head. The frequency of it didn't sit right with me. And I said this to the person at the store as well, and they said, you'll get used to that. And at the time I was like, oh, the device will change. It'll go away. You know, that's not it. It's that our bodies get used to it. We are constantly getting used to and adapting to things that are not good for us psychologically, physically, energetically, spiritually, mentally, or emotionally. Constantly adapting to it. And it's just very interesting that we live in a world where there's not a lot of people who are free thinkers, thinking consciously in a connected way, as if they're born again or new in the moment each and every day, observing what is actually going on. I've received so much pushback throughout my life of people being like the criticism, people don't like, it makes me think about being in high school, because I'm at a different level of my investigations as a 29-year-old today on December 7th, 2023 than I was in, you know, April of 2011, but I still talked like this. I did. And I would get into situations with friends, and I remember one in particular. She's a very, in no manner of insult whatsoever, a very basic girl. She likes her just is not a seeker of any kind, likes the path, likes the idea of just, you know, going to school and doing the things and being successful and getting married and having a family and not needing any outside understanding of what the world might be dealing with at a bigger level. And that's okay. Everybody has their own way of meeting reality and therefore navigating it. That's the beauty of our free choice. In no way I'm not trying to do anything around inferiority or superiority. What's very interesting is that one of the shadow sides, I talk about shadow sides, or I did. You can go onto the website, look at my blog that I made, because I posted a thing about the life path numbers. It's not that involved, it's pretty basic, but the link helps you calculate your life path number, and I talk about shadow aspects. Shadow aspects, just like there are strengths to knowing certain things about yourself and how you're wired. One of the shadow aspects of being a life path 33, because I feel I'm always teaching myself things, and now I've opened that up to just let other people witness it in the event that it teaches people things outside of myself. But the shadow aspect is like prone to having a superiority complex. And when I was, not that I'm a perfect person now, I've got a long ways to go, and I'm on board for that, right? But there's no rush. Like sometimes I'm like, what will I be like when I'm 46? That'll be cool. I'm sure it'll be going great by then. No, it's going great now. I mean, yes, but it's going great now, and it will be going great then. I don't have to be any other version of myself than the one that I'm inhabiting right now, as long as I'm open to letting that version change. When I was wrapped up in a little bit more of like I am knowing myself through the act of proving certain things and trying to seek validation so that I can understand that my views are real, and, you know, it was a different developmental stage. I don't think I realized how much it appeared as a superiority complex. Really what that is like, it was a deep insecurity rooted in feeling like it's been hard for me in life to come by people who genuinely truly understand me, not because they don't want to or because they're not interested, because there are certain aspects of how I talk and feel and think and what I've been through that just kind of escape them. And I don't, you know, it's been hard for me to feel fully seen and held by people over time. And I think that it's pretty evident because my essence is sort of an adaptive strategy for navigating that, really, really not wanting to be misunderstood, really wanting to be understood. But anyway, without trying to say that one way of life is better or not, I think about her sometimes, because when we got into these conversations when we were younger, we were in high school, we were hanging out, and I was like going off onto different thought trains around extraterrestrial beings or the nature of the universe, and quantum stuff. She would say, Mariah, can you not do that right now? Like, whenever you talk about that stuff, it just makes me feel weird. Like, I don't want to go there. And I liked that she knew it and that she said it, because that's fascinating. That's fascinating. What is it that somebody would be talking about around you where you would ask them, can you not do that? Can you not expose my mind to things that I would rather not think about? That is what I felt like people are saying a lot for the past 20 years, and they don't really know why. Maybe, yeah, consciously it's just like there's no reason to that thought form. There's no, like, this is the inner philosopher in me who's just like, all we must do is sit around and ponder. That is it. That is it. And if you ask my mom, like, some of the stuff I did when I was a kid, her point on the matter, her opinion, I think, Mom, correct me if I'm wrong, she said to me, I think you just had a lot of stagnant mental energy because your mind was very active, so you were always questioning, creating, and doing things to keep yourself busy. Like I shared the other day, like certain things that could be considered like borderline OCD, where I was like tracking cars and car models, and who knows, examining all sorts of stuff in great detail for no other reason other than the fact that the information presented itself to me and I started detecting patterns and I was interested in seeing how they unfolded. It's the same thing today where I'm like, why do I have so much extra time and space in my mind to sort through these things? Because the system has, unfortunately, it's got too many people wrapped around its fingers or its clutches or its grasp. What it demands from them takes all of their time and energy, so that we don't have that time to sit around and ponder. Because if we did, we'd realize things. We would realize things. And that's why it's like, the big kicker for me, I'm so salty about the fact that I have to pay 60 cents to get a paper bag, which the paper bags, I can't carry all of them at the same time up my 3 flights of stairs. I have to take like 6 trips now. Like, we have to pay every single little aspect of existence and life. We have to pay for. And like, it's just intense and there's so much of it. Okay. Hopefully I'm getting to the source of this clog in the road and I will be on my way soon, because this is absolutely insane. Here's an energy update too. Okay. So the energy in June, the energy in December, they can be somewhat mirrored because Cancer, the zodiac sign, is the mother of the zodiac. I'm starting to drive, so I'm gonna try to get this out quickly. Capricorn, however, is the paternal father of the zodiac, right? Cold, winter. And again, with like God, Son, the Holy Spirit, Jesus being the physical embodiment of light coming back to earth. God bless you. Hope it works out. There's got to be better ways of doing that. Like clearing the roads and stuff. Can't believe how long that just took. Okay. I left an hour and 15 minutes ago and accomplished the first 1.5 miles of my drive. So because it's a equally weighted counterpart energy of like discipline and acceptance. Like, think about 2 perfect parents, 2 rock star parents, like an amazing father, an amazing mother, in this ascended way that was deeply understanding but properly disciplinary and validating, while also stern and loving and open, and had all the bandwidth and capacity in the world that any human has ever had in order to raise a child in a proper way that leaves them with, minimal trauma and complicated events to unwind later in life. A stern but loving hand and model. Okay, envision that. What would that entail? The Capricorn aspect, the fatherly side of that coin, is starting to act upon us as we move into the closer to the 12/12 portal. By the way, 12/12 into 12/13, kind of the midnight passage between those 2 days, is going to be really potent and special for manifesting and like reality shifting in a lovely way. But the qualities of that parenting, what would it be like? There's this aspect with paternal energy where it requires you to get very real. I think about primary like models of like female masculine energy too, like the men who go to battle, they handle like the tough shit on the forefront of what's happening. whereas the women like don't have to deal with it. They stay back in the village to protect and feed the kids and stuff. So there's like a get real, face the music type of energy. In December, and I said this in a post from the other day, but the wounded inner children come out to express themselves. I'm feeling this already in the people around me and in my own self and my own triggers, in my close little networks. I mean, if I stay inside for 5 days and don't go out and talk to anybody, my phone is still blowing up. I'm still in connection with people. There are still people thinking of me, calling me, asking me things. Excuse me. Even though I don't leave the house, right? So we can't ever fully, like, sometimes I just want to, like, the way I deactivate my Instagram and nobody can go on and see it and it just doesn't exist. You know, we wish we could just like do that with ourselves and be like, nobody is allowed to access my energy or think about me for 12 days. I do not exist. That's not possible. So in the even though I've been sharing and feeling and talking, I've been just going through so many changes. It's a transformational time. A lot of us are. It's been drawing me into myself to really reflect on what is happening within me and what it means and how I feel and just all of it. It's just deep, deep processing. It's intense. And I get this weird inner child thing that I feel like I used to feel when I was really young, when I felt like I had something to say, but I didn't get listened to because I was a kid, or no one was listening, but I was trying to speak. And when a kid isn't listened to and nobody's listening, they speak louder because they think that that's the secret to, that's why they're not being heard. Now, with angry adults who don't know how to not yell in times of conflict, it's that they never learned that just elevating your volume is not the way to be heard. That was never the problem. It's very interesting just to see how many adults have not resolved their ability to communicate in the unhealed way that they learned in childhood. But anyway, I think about feeling the need, feeling like I was starting to maybe like get into a tantrum mode as a young child, or feeling like I wanted to be heard. There's a feeling like that now, but it's the same itchy agitation. It's not that I want to be heard, it's that I want to be safe. It feels like out there energetically, there's a lot going on where people, maybe a grand percentage, a big percentage of the population of the people, will probably not have the mental, like energetic, spiritual level of realization, self-actualization, to understand how much is changing and crumbling right now, because it's happening real time and it's going to affect us for a long time to come. I mean, listen, we're right back in this. We're going to go, like, I think about the time that I started recording videos in Italy in June, and we're like, do. Now it's December. I'm going to be sitting in the car in June, 6 months from now, being like, do you see what just happened? Do. We go right back up from December to June. But the passage of time is literally changing because humans are experiencing the passage of time differently, and that is what controls the passage of time. So it's this weird inner child thing where I myself even am like, okay, the inner child, like there's this, it's about mitigating and navigating unsafety. And it's going to result in people feeling like I need mental health days. I don't feel like I'm overwhelmed. I'm this and that. I'll put something on the screen here too. This is also from Ben Mir, but it's about, and I talk about reality framing devices. Language is nothing more than a reality framing device or tool set. A lot of us don't use words properly. A lot of us don't use as many words as are available to us. A lot of us are not interested in why words are even constructed in the way that they are, or the root of them, because it all came from somewhere. We were just grunting in a forest at some point. And it's come to this. The point that I'm trying to get out is that I believe that the next couple weeks are going to be filled with inclinations to kind of protect ourselves and go into ourselves. And it's not hiding, it's not avoiding. I mean, I don't want to give improper advice, so don't shirk your responsibilities if you must. A lot of the times it's fascinating to me when I'm giving counsel or advice to friends or family members or whoever may ask me for it. People will be like, well, I didn't respond yet. I'm like, why not? Just let them know that you're thinking it over. Just let them know. I mean, everybody is different, and I understand that, but it's interesting when, like, say I'm a third party to it. Say I'm an outsider to a situation I have no part in. Okay, in dynamic one, person A, person B. Person A sends a message, person B doesn't respond. Person A is like, this is the issue with person B. Person B isn't able to just like communicate, and they're holding everything up. Person B has a very different experience of what that situation looks like. They're like, I wasn't able to respond in that moment. I didn't know. It's more complicated. It's more complicated than that. So I guess what I'm trying to say with that is like, don't disappear in an irresponsible way. There's a way to protect yourself and not need to meet people's needs that are outside your bandwidth, but let them know that. And of course, every situation calls for different things. That's what I've learned works out for me, though, is that I don't have to have shame around my shortcomings, because I'm an incredibly productive person, and I forget that. I'm totally always brainwashed by my, like, you know, perfectionistic tendencies that are motivating but self-limiting. My meanest inner critic, the meanest bitch I know is my inner critic, I promise you. I think everybody could say that. I don't talk to anybody the way I talk to myself. And I have to be very gracious and compassionate and forgiving with myself, because I'm remembering that I'm not, you know, I haven't messed up everything. It's okay. It's crazy how, you know, there's just human aspects of life where I think a lot of people would be like, why would you constantly grapple with feelings of inadequacy? I'm like, let me tell you. Would you like to know? There's a lot of reasons why. Maybe they're not founded on anything that was real, but maybe all of that stuff went down when I was too young to know the difference, and I internalized it. And just because I'm aware of it doesn't mean it's consciously purged out of my being, right? This is what a trigger is. It's not one and done release. Do you think you're fancy, skipping me in line? We're all going the same direction, little blue. I'm trying to talk to people nicer in traffic instead of just being like, well. Other thing I will say is that I made that blog and I sent it to a couple people, because I have a pretty good focus group of different like proficiencies with using technology, different levels of proficiency with navigating websites, like how intuitive certain buttons are, interfaces on desktop versus mobile. So I sent it to a few people and everything, and I got great feedback. A lot of it is similar, so I know exactly what I'd like to change. And honestly, I'm using templates to build the website, so I don't have as much creative liberty as I would otherwise, but I don't want to pay for something where I can build it from scratch. Nor do I have the patience or time right now to do that. But I had somebody be like, wow, you whipped this up in like a day. And it's like, yes and no. I take resentment. Something that can irk me sometimes is if people say things to me like, it's so easy for you, you can just do it. And my defense is, no, I work really, really hard. And I dedicate myself. I care deeply. I work hard. I didn't just whip it up in a day. I created accounts on 4 different website building platforms, and I created a homepage on every single one to trial how well it would work for my needs. And I experienced glitches and bugs on all of them. The last man standing is the one that I paid for a subscription for. All of my files had to be converted. I had to explore different file conversion apps. Like, it took a lot of patience, and it made me realize how complicated certain things are in the world, where it's like most people are not capable of navigating. I am almost in a boat where I don't have the patience to navigate certain tedious tasks like building a website. It takes a lot of patience and focus if you want to do it right, you know? Just the deep radical acceptance of how things are right now, keying into the fact that you do have a control over the passage of time. And sometimes something I do is like feel like the world's like a vacuum, and like not to dissociate or, you know, lose my humanity in relation to other people and their very complicated, busy lives and real identities and everything, but I just walk around and I'm like, everybody's just like a sim, a robot, you know, everything's a projection. Like, this is all a play and I'm dreaming and I live in a vacuum, and it's just all this stuff around me. Like, I can truly relax and I'm not whatever. It's a strange thing. I didn't describe that in any amount of detail that would be useful, but in order for somebody to like relate to. But you get what I mean. It's just this weird reality check thing that I do where I'm like, I mean, what is even happening here? Is the level of emotion that I find myself inhabiting in the present moment proportionate to like the bigger picture of what's happening? Like, do I need to the currency of this reality is our attention and our focus. And what we attach to that via emotional resonance, the current, the focus, the emotion, the resonance, the present moment, that's where it's all happening. That's what gets manipulated. manipulated through frequency, and like I will talk about the quadrivium in terms of sound wave frequency and like the light spectrum and stuff when it comes to subliminal programming in the modern systems, like the matrix machine through marketing and like flashing color redundancy. I'll talk about that, but don't regardless of how other people are acting, how you're feeling, the things that kind of start to push through the dirt as like the new buds of the saplings of the seedlings of the next 6 months. Some quality within this energy and these shifts in the next 2 weeks is like being reprimanded by a stern father, but it presents the opportunity to heal father wounds and understand that we are, whenever we try to get away with something or hide from ourselves, you know, we're only hurting ourselves. There's so much benefit in being held by this higher self that lives within all of us, that is like a paternal guide that knows what we need. You know, if we could separate, like Voldemort in Harry Potter, our essence into Horcruxes, if we were 5 different people all of a sudden, and one of them was a kind, loving mother, and one of them was a disciplinary, stern but supportive father, and one of them was a, I don't know, crazy uncle, whoever you want. You'd have all these different shades of being coming out of you to guide you. You know, what would they say? They would have different things to say than you do in your conscious mind as you right now, because they're all coexisting. That's why we are creatures of contradiction. Very regularly we do things and we say, why did I just do that? Or maybe I could have done that differently. All the time. So we're supposed to, it is to our advantage to be able to think about ourselves as these appropriately imperfect beings who are meant to kind of bounce like you know, impartial players between these levels of guidance and stuff. It's just that societally we don't have the proper healed role models of mother and father. A lot of it comes back to that. Responsibility, honesty, accountability, discernment are the keywords that I'm getting as far as taking on and unwinding things. As we move towards the end of Sagittarius season, like we get ready for that Capricornian influence. I hope everybody feels okay. And if you don't, I hope that you're able to sit and take some, like imagine like molten gold. That's nice. Molten gold dripping over all of like the cells and things in every tiny little space and nook and cranny and cavity of your physical body, and illuminating those areas, especially those that feel, I don't know, achy or sore or tight or blocked. Allow for the molten gold lava of a light substance that makes you feel warm inside. Kind of wash over everything. It's just an exercise you can do for 20 seconds. It has a major impact. 17 minutes late and counting. Just doing Secret Santa with my colleagues. I'm wearing my Christmas jammies. It's no big deal. There's potatoes and bacon on a buffet waiting for me, but I hate being late, so